we need to put a newfound respect on the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. Now, we had kind of gone into this with the narrative of Cory Sandhagen either outpoints him to a decision or Chito Vera knocks him out. But I don't think that we took into consideration Cory Sandhagen is really mixing it up like a legitimate mixed martial artist now. Like, he has taken all the little details and minutia of the losses in the biggest moments and added them to this game. And now, what did he do? He bagged round 1 and 2 on Chito with the takedowns and then picked him apart for the rest of the fight, man. So was this classic bread and butter Sandman that people are sleeping on, or were you like, no, this was a new level of Cory Sandhagen?
A new level, Derek. And I think you picked up on the right things, the same things I picked up on, where he took a lot of those losses, a lot of the things he had exposed and started working on them, started grinding, started going into those places and actually getting the work done to improve. And this is the output of it, man. Sandhagen looks levels above where he was, and he was already at one of the top levels. So I'm excited to see where they put this dude next, with the whole mix-up of Aljo, Marab. There's a lot of opponents that this dude can fight. That's going to be a very exciting style of matchup. I don't know, man. Sandhagen seems like a pay-per-view from now on. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, this should be like a main event, you know what I mean, type slot from now on. I will say there's like the story that needs to be broken down. The story within the story is that Marlon Vera, slow starter, we mentioned it, everybody knew it. He got off to a really slow start. But as I was watching it, I don't think this was quite as simple as, oh yeah, I'm just dissecting and I'm going to take my time. I don't think that he had a choice but to get off to a slow start. Cory Sandhagen is a master of angles. He is a master of movement. He is a master of not reusing and repeating the same techniques over and over again. So it's hard to pick up a pattern. So when he's throwing a flying knee, switching stances back and forth, hooks here, body shots over here. Oh, let me mix in the takedown. Oh, let me throw the elbow off the break, right? It's so hard to get a beat on this guy. And the only way that we have truly seen where you can legitimately defeat him, you have to get a hold of this guy and you can't let him move around. So I thought it was an interesting, I want your rebuttal to this. Cory Sandhagen in the post-fight said, yeah, Chito Vera is not really good at closing distance, so I figured if I didn't close the distance for him, he'd have no way of really being able to touch me. That's exactly how the fight played out, bro. What do you think? How do you feel about that?
It's exactly like the fight played out. I wouldn't say Vera is bad at closing the distance or doesn't have the best attempts or entrances to closing that distance. I would just say Sandman's a little faster and able to work those angles like you're talking about, Derek, because he does have that, not inconsistency, but like where you don't know what's coming next from Sandhagen because he has so many different ways and angles and movements and footwork, man. The footwork of Cory Sandhagen is beautiful, especially in those switch stances, man. When he's able to turn on you and you're like, oh man, what's he going to throw? Yo, left hook's coming. Next thing you know, you get hit with a right jab. Man, what the fuck, man? I didn't see that at all. That's what Sandhagen's best at. And I don't think that's a knock on Chito, because Chito may not be the quickest at making the entrances, closing that distance and getting to your hips or getting to the clinch, whatever he wants to do. But he does have that relentless pressure where he will be there eventually, Yeah. So I don't know if that's bad or good. It's kind of stylistic. Do you see it as a bad thing, Derek?
Well, I just saw that Cory Sandhagen completely used that to his game plan. You know what I mean? He took advantage of it. So one of the other narratives here was that I guess in Chito Vera's camp, they were kind of saying Cory Sandhagen thinks he's a little too smart for his own good. Like he's going to outsmart me. And I think that's what he did though, man. Honestly, I think that he just said, all right, I'm going to take literally all of your weaknesses and I'm going to exploit them. I'm going to capitalize on them. And I mean, it's going to be really hard for you to win round 3, 4, and 5 if I wins round 1 and 2. So let me just take you down, hold you, put it in the bag, drop a little ground and pound on you. You saw, though, every time Vera was able to land, there was damage. Cory Sandhagen looked like the more beat-up fighter. He had the massive gash on the top of his head from the elbow, right? So the question ultimately becomes, if Vera would have got started earlier, do you think he had a legitimate chance in this fight, given how we saw it played out? We thought he had a chance, but given how it played out, if he would have stepped on the gas the way he did in round 5 and round maybe 2 or so, you think it would have been a different story?
I think it would have, and I think we would have had to see the actual smarts of Sandhagen come out because Vera fought the fight that Cory was already expecting. So he didn't have to rejudge. He didn't have to reassess any of that. He then had to just play his game plan. If Vera comes out hot off the jump, throwing that big power, making everybody in the crowd ooh and ah, then I do think you have to actually sit back, readjust. Like, okay, he's not coming out like the fighter I was expecting. What do we do now? Do we still stick with the game plan? Do we switch it up? I think it makes it a different fight. I don't think it makes it a different outcome here because I do agree. I think Sandhagen's one of his best abilities is how smart he is, and that's the reason why he grew so much in between all these fights. And what his last fight was only 4 months ago, or what we say, some crazy short time. Sandhagen, isn't it? Am I wrong?
No, I think it was a little bit longer than that. Yeah.
Is it longer than that? All right.
Yeah.
Either way, Sandhagen is very smart from the way he does it, and I think it's it's very showing that a camp will go in and say, "Oh, he thinks he's smarter than me." Like I don't doubt that, man. Some people do hold that intelligence really high in the fight game, and it really does play a lot. So I think that's a misstep on the Cheeto Vera camp, personally.
Yeah, and then last question before we move on to the next one, man. What the interesting thing here is that Cory Sandhagen kind of dissected this by saying, what do we love about Cheeto Vera? He's a blood and guts fighter. He says, fuck all the details and all that. I'm a fighter. I'm going to come here to fight. It's as simple as that. And Cory Sandhagen says, sometimes you're going to run into these guys who want it just as bad at you. It's not necessarily going to be a war of wills. I want it just as bad, but I'm just a little bit technically better. So you have to make those adjustments. It can't be a matter of I just want it more. We love us some Goggins, but we know it cannot just be pure determination. There must be technique behind the determination. Do you think that Marlon Vera will learn from this to make the adjustments to now hang with these real top 3-ish guys? Because Cory Sandhagen is number 5 on paper, but you know he's a top 3 guy.
Yes, very true, Derek. And I think the same way we're talking that Sandhagen has learned from his losses, I think Cheeto has as well, even from some of his wins. You know, the Sean O'Malley win, a couple of the other fights that he's had against these technical guys. You can see him becoming less and less of that brawler, that marauder that's just going to walk you down, and a little more calculated. Not much, but a little more. And I do think that he's going to have to learn that is the next step of his game plan. If he wants to elevate to that upper echelon, you have to start reading your opponents. It always blows my mind when the fighters that say they don't watch any film at all. I'm like, damn, how? Like, you're just gifted. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, either way, I think it's fair to say Cory Sandhagen needs a title shot. I know he calls out Marab. He wants to kind of play that game of working his way back up the ladder. Give the man a title shot. What are we talking about here? Expert performance, man, by the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. Should have went with my mind. I went with the heart instead. Either way, let's move on to the co-main, brother.